Well, good evening, y'all. Today is, oh man, I always screw up the dates. What is it? Hold on. June 29th, Monday, oh, I just screwed up my camera. Blurry now. Monday, June 29th. That's what day it is. And we're a couple days past the 30-day mark of no kratom. So, yeah, I wanted to just provide a quick update video about 30 days. 30 days is usually like when stuff starts to get real mentally for a lot of people, especially me. Mentally, like definitely depression, anxiety, and relapse thoughts or cravings can get really kind of amplified in the between like days 30 and 60 ish. Everybody's different, some people get it like sooner or later than that. Uh, but yeah, for me, like it's pretty consistently like once day 30 hits, I don't know why, but things get pretty well. They've already been pretty mental, but they get like a different kind of mental, really like a depression, the soulless void. I talk about a lot, where it just feels like nothing has much meaning or much like it's kind of futile to do things. Like you feel kind of lifeless, low energy. You just your brain is screwed up. It's trying to heal. You're having to deal with life. You're having to go to work. You're having to deal. If you have kids, they're a lot of work. Your family wants to do things, and you feel like doing none of it, and that can be difficult. So I always try to like make sure like I educate people on, because you can get pretty overconfident. You go a month if you're not used to this process. Like, oh, I made it a month, like I'm there. Just be prepared. Don't be scared, but be prepared that you're gonna deal with some freaking kamikaze relapse thoughts, some cravings, most likely, and depression, and it can scare some people, especially people who are prone to depression. It can kind of freak them out. I mean, it freaks me out, and I'm not. I don't know. I don't deal with depression normally. I have in the past, but um, so yeah. Lately, I've been so preoccupied with things going on in my life, work, health, things like that, that I really haven't been even thinking about like what day I'm on or like kratom recovery, which in a way is a good thing. In a way, it's not great because I'm having to focus on those other things that, well, work's not negative, but health wise, and so yeah, I've just been like preoccupied with other things, and in that time, haven't I don't know. I haven't really had a ton of crazy cravings or anything. I did have one today, and I'll talk about it because I think it's a good little topic for people that are entering into that like second month of kratom sobriety. So yeah, the last couple weeks, guys, I haven't even really thought about it. Like I had to go back and count what day I was on. I knew I had hit day 30 recently. I think I'm 33 today, but sorry, my son. He's one. Always fighting with his brother. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Before we were so rudely interrupted. No, I'm kidding. I'll probably get interrupted again. Anyways, I think I remember what I was saying. So, yeah, when you get into that second month of sobriety, a lot of times the challenge kind of changes a little bit, and especially for me. And I've been doing a lot of like research, watching videos, things like that on experts who talk about addiction and what, like, specifically what actually is going on in your biology and what causes these, desires to go back to a place that you don't want to, but like relapse, it's like, you got out of this hell that you were in, and then why, why a month down the road or 2 months down the road does your brain seem to forget the pain that this substance caused you? I mean, your brain is really good at forgetting the pain that you went through. And Why is that and what's going on? I see people who are on like high amounts of 7-OH and they go through the most horrific withdrawals. And then a few months later, you hear they're back on it again. It's like your brain, dude, an addict brain, like it forgets that pain. And this kind of ties into the way your brain works. And I'm not going to get into the weeds on this stuff, but I will suggest if you do want to get in the weeds on this stuff, it is super interesting. I'll recommend a channel to you. You may already know who this is, but his channel is called Healthy Gamer GG. And he does talk about lots of things. He talks about all kinds of stuff, but he talks a lot about addiction and what's actually going on in your brain when this happens. But, your brain, your endocannabinoid system, I believe is what it is really about like habit. The habits that you give it, it's going to basically imprint that in your mind as this is what we do, right? So you get up every day, you take your kratom, you go throughout your day, you take your kratom again, you go throughout your day, you're not realizing, but your endocannabinoid system in your body is like, I like to think of it as like imprinting, like it is like writing code in your body of this is what we do, this is our routine, this is how we live. And when you stop doing that thing, it doesn't like it. It really doesn't like it. Your brain does not like it. And your brain is going to do everything it can to convince you to stop stop quitting what we used to do, right? And it's going to be pretty stinking creative in how it tries to get you to do that. And so, like I said, the last few weeks been so preoccupied with work, health, and all this stuff. I've really thrown myself into work. And then when I'm not at work, I'm reading material about work or material that will help me be better at work, like sales books or business books and things. Like I've just kind of thrown myself into that. And that's part of my way to cope. So by doing this stuff, by throwing myself into work, throwing myself into like just, when I'm done with work, being engaged in work still, reading material, like really just like committing and putting max effort into something good, like producing something, right? What I'm doing is, I'm working to recode in a way that system of your brain that basically just, imprints what you're doing every day, your habits. And so this system that kind of rules you, the system that you've developed, whether you realize it or not, by your actions, is actively working against you because your brain doesn't like change. But the good news is it will change. You're in charge of it. Ultimately, it's going to try to get you to stop because it wants to keep doing the same thing it's been doing. But you are ultimately in control. If you go long enough building these other habits, it's going to adapt and it's going to realize, okay, this is the new routine. So whether it feels like it or not, and for a while, it's going to feel like you're not building any new real great habits. It's going to feel hard. You're going to feel tension at every angle. You're going to feel pushback. You're going to get all these thoughts that are lies. They're going to try to convince you to stop. Your own addict brain is going to be overactive. If you say no long enough and you keep working at those other things in your life, those other habits you're building in your life, those other routines, those new attachments that you're forming in life, whether you realize it or not, you're reprogramming. And you got to do it. The sooner you can do that, the better. And so, yeah, I don't always have a ton of motivation or energy, but I'm forcing myself to like throw myself into the opposite of what I was on kratom. So when I was on kratom, I was low motivation, low energy, low action, low activity. I was lazy. I would do the bare minimum in everything in life. I felt content. I wanted to just relax. I wanted to just veg out and be self-serving, do whatever I wanted to do. And so now I'm working my butt off to do the opposite of that. Now I'm going to work extra hard. Like I'm going to work overtime every day. Now I'm not going to read for pleasure. I'm going to read for work. I found something productive, fulfilling, being my job, to throw myself and my energy into so that I can formulate new attachments. So it's like I'm trying to like flip it on its head. I'm trying to go, well, I was this guy on kratom, so I'm going to do the opposite of all those things off kratom. I'm going to be a hard worker. I'm going to go the extra mile. You know, I'm going to really, really dive into the complexities of, I have a very technical job, so I'm going to dive into the complexities of that. I've been working a lot with like AI and building new systems to help me at work and help other people at work. Like, totally encapsulated in like, totally immersed in like producing, like being productive. And it sucks. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like crushing it every day, dude. Like, there's days where I'm like, man, I just like, it's a slog. It is, but like, you have to do it. And whether you realize it or not, you're reprogramming your body, your brain. But with that, you have to be aware that you're going to deal with something. You're going to deal with thoughts that seemingly come out of nowhere. And they're thoughts that you need to learn how to observe, analyze objectively, and deal with. And a lot of times those thoughts lead to relapse. You don't just relapse autonomously, like, oh, I just grabbed the kratom, now I'll relapse, right? Like, at some point, there's a thought in your mind. There's a seed planted that you, if you're being honest with yourself, entertained. Now, you may not have relapsed in that moment, but you entertained that thought and it planted a seed, and your brain is going to use that again and again and again because you entertained it. And eventually it will most likely lead to relapse. And so I had one of those thoughts today. So what I had to do when I had these thoughts, and I'll tell you about like what was going on when it happened, all that stuff. But what I'm saying, my point I'm trying to make is like, you need to be aware of where it comes from. And in order to do that, you have to really work on your self-awareness and breaking down things that I've talked about in previous videos, like, why did you like kratom? What about kratom made you like life more? What was kratom really doing for you? You have to dive into these things, because if you don't, you're not going to, when the thought comes up, you're going to have a hard time identifying where it came from. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about that and reading research on it. And so today, I'm working my butt off. And then about 2 p.m., it's 4th of July week. A lot of my customers are off. So it got real dead. And I am in my truck, and I am in the town I live in, just at a Starbucks, just kind of parked. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out what to do next. Like, where should I pivot? And it's kind of a weird week because a lot of people are gone. So like, it's not like I can just go see a bunch of people, like a bunch of customers, because lots of people are on vacation. And so it's just kind of, it's unique, like, okay, everything's dead now. And right then, man, the thought came into my mind, like, dude, like, just use a little bit of kratom. Like, it'll help you. Like, you're good. You worked enough today. Use a little bit of kratom. We'll have a good evening. Boom. Just like that. That thought came up from seemingly nowhere. Right. And so right then, because I've done some of this work already, I knew exactly where it came from and what it was and why it was there. It's there because, for one, environmental, right? I'm in my hometown. I'm near where my body's used to being on kratom. Secondly, I used kratom a lot when I had downtime, when there wasn't as much work, when I wasn't as busy. That's when, boom, I'd be using kratom. Thirdly, like, it's a slow week and I'm tempted to just veg out and go back to that self-serving, lazy slog of a lifestyle. And so I remember like sitting there in that parking lot and like treating it almost like a scientist, like analyzing it. Like, I know exactly where this came from. I know why it's here. I know why it's in my mind. And I know it's my brain trying to hold on to this old habit. And so what I had to do was break down the thought. And how I did this was, it's almost like sales. If you want to be good at sales, or if you're in sales, you deal with objections, right? And so if you want to be good at sales, you got to practice overcoming objections. So I treated this relapse thought kind of like an objection. Okay, so what is this relapse thought telling me? First of all, I don't believe it. Make sure you don't believe it. It's not true. But what is this relapse trying to tell me? It's trying to tell me that I will have a great afternoon and evening if I take it. So immediately I said, no, actually, I will have a great afternoon and evening even if I don't take it. I told myself that out loud. I know it's kind of like a lunatic thing to do, but I was like, no, I will have a great evening and a great night without kratom. Like, I don't need kratom to have a good evening and a good night. Secondly, it'll make you feel so good. And I told myself, I already feel good. I feel so good because I don't have, restless legs and I don't have massive depression and anxiety. I don't have any of that stuff today. I already feel good. Kratom doesn't make me feel good. Like, I already feel good. I don't need to feel better. Like, I'm good. Another thing it told me, um, the big one is you got a handle on it. It'll just be this one time. Then you'll go back to the routine you've been doing. That's another thing my brain does is like, oh, but you've been doing so good, Josh. These routines you've been building, all this work you've been doing. This one time is not going to ruin all that. Just tomorrow you'll get right back to it. Freaking lie. And I said it out loud. That's a lie. That's a filthy lie. I will just derail everything I've been doing. And so I don't know what those questions and answers are for you guys, but for me, I have to take all that programming, because those thoughts that come up, they're just a result of the programming in your mind. And you have to break it down. Like, okay, have the self-awareness and do the work to know why it's even there. Recognize the environment you're in and why it's in this, why you're getting triggered in this environment, and then take the thought and like break it down and overcome the objection of it in a way. I know I'm a sales guy, so like I'm using sales terms, but it's essentially how I thought about it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard of the easy way to quit drinking alcohol, Alan Parr. He talks about dehypnotize yourself like to the drug. The drug's hypnotized you into believing that alcohol tastes good, it's good for you, this and that. And you like break it down and you have to like almost talk to yourself and tell yourself like, no, like kratom, I will have a fine night without it. Like, it doesn't make me feel better. Actually, it makes me feel worse. I just have, my brain is telling me it makes me feel better. In the long run, it's going to make me feel much worse. And so that's how I treated it. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't starting to do this work of like trying to get to the bottom of the actual use of the kratom, the addiction to the kratom. And because I truly believe that, like, and I could be wrong, but I truly believe that if you want to be actually sober and not just abstinent, like, you have to get to the bottom of why you used. You have to break down all those reasons, and then you have to address them like head on and overcome them, deal with them properly, healthily. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that the quicker you can do that and get through it, the much quicker you'll recover. So yeah, I know I just threw a bunch of stuff at you, but in the second month of kratom sobriety, you're gonna probably deal with a lot of this stuff. A lot of this, your brain in certain environments bringing up these thoughts, and if you're not prepared and practiced, not only to know where they come from and why they're there, but disciplined to sit there and objectify it, and then thirdly to dissect it and object it or overcome the objection. I don't know what better way to say that. Should probably have thought about this more, but really, really like just work through it. And honestly, I'm a believer in saying things out loud. Like, tell yourself out loud, no, I will have a perfectly fine night without this. I don't need this. A lot of times we try to like avoid relapse thoughts. Like, oh, I had a relapse thought. I'll think about something else. It's not going to make it go away. It's not. It's just going to come back later. And maybe you can do that long enough that it works for you. But personally, I can't do that. Like, I think I got to like actually look it straight in the eye and just be like, this relapse thought is bullshit. It's not true. It's a lie. And I have to do that enough times until my brain gets the freaking program. Like, oh, like, stop bringing this thought up because he's rejected it every time. And we have all these new habits now. If you don't change your life at all, if I'm the same Josh doing the same exact things that I was doing on kratom, but I'm just abstinent from kratom, like, I'm not really like recovering, but like, and it's going to be so hard to deal with those thoughts. But if you've completely flipped your life upside down and now you're doing everything the way you should be, working hard, trying to rebuild your relationships, producing. I mean, like, people are happy when they produce and they're productive. Like, and you work out, like, you're doing all these things that are the opposite of what you did on kratom, and you stare those relapse thoughts in the face and you break them down and you say, no, it's not true. Like, you're gonna I think, I mean, obviously, like, there's time will tell. I still got a long ways to go, but I think this is backed by science. This is definitely what Healthy Gamer GG talks about and other people talk about. Hopefully this is helpful to you. It's probably could have been more than one video, but the second month of sobriety, you're gonna deal with this stuff, these thoughts coming up that you're gonna have to stare in the face and deal with. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't say run from them. I wouldn't say run or distract yourself from them. Maybe you should. I don't know. Personally, I would think learn how to deal with them, because you can only run from them for so long. Eventually, they're gonna get you. You know. So now don't sit there and ruminate like I want to do it. I want to do it. You know, but you gotta stare it in the face and you gotta learn, like, where is this coming from? And I'm just gonna deal with it head on. Like, and I'm not gonna, don't believe your mind. Seriously, your especially in the second month sobriety, your mind is gonna lie to you like crazy. So hopefully that was helpful. It was probably mostly worthless drivel, but if anyone gets anything out of this, I'm happy with that. That's great. As far as my health goes, I don't have a full update yet. I did have to get surgery, but my scar is healing very nicely. I do see an oncologist on Thursday. I already have a diagnosis. I just don't have a prognosis. So once I get that, I'll let you guys know what's going on. Based on my diagnosis, assuming it's correct, it should be very, very manageable, which is good. We were a little worried at first of what might be going on, but yeah, I think I'm gonna be all right. We'll see though. Maybe Thursday they'll tell me I'm gonna die soon. So no, I'll be good. But anyways, yeah, I've talked on for long enough, I guess, and I don't know if any of that made sense. Hopefully it did. I love you guys. God bless. If you need me to elaborate on anything in this video, let me know. I'll try, although I'm not that smart, so maybe I'll just send you over to a video or something. But anyways, yeah, second month, starting the second month, it's freaking hard. It's freaking hard. All right. But you can do it. I would say don't shy away from the challenges though. Like, just face them head on and just freaking, do the work. Like, do the work you got to do. It sucks, but it's so worth it. All right, guys, I'm going to get off now. I promise this time. All right. Love you. See you.